Hello, Father Larry here, back for chapter 10 of the Screwtape Letters. Screwtape is glad to hear from Trip Tweez. Aren't these demonic names comical? Screwtape and Wormwood, of course, but then, there's other minor characters here. You got Trip Tweez, Scab Tree. There might be a Slub Gob or something like that, I forget, but these names are pretty entertaining. Once again, making fun. Now, this guy, the patient, has made some friends that are so far have been a bad influence on him, and he is not on guard. He seems to be oblivious of this bad influence. They are rich, smart, and superficially intellectual. Ooh. So, there's no real personal investment in ideas sometimes. We just use them almost like a parlor game. It's not really a personal quest for the truth. There's no real sincere desire for the truth. Or we're just curious, it's just that there's a certain unhealthy detachment from our thinking. We are just curious, like these individuals that St. Paul encounters in the Areopagus in Athens, these Illuminati, these intellectual elitists of their day. Says here in Acts 17:21, now all the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time in nothing except telling or hearing something new. But, there's never any real commitment. Trying to pin them down and argue with people like this is trying to pin Jello to the wall. They just slip through your grasp because they are never really committed to a position. It's just a parlor game to people, the intellectual life, and it's that's so inauthentic. To borrow an expression of the philosopher Heidegger that I was just reading some of, and totally inauthentic. He actually refers to curiosity and idle chatter and ambiguity. These are three qualities of this inauthentic self. So we need to be sincere seekers of the truth. These people are not rich, smart, and superficially intellectual. All right, they have an ingrained habit of belittling anything that concerns the great mass of their fellow men. That's so interesting. Just kind of, again, this elitist, they went to some fancy school, whatever. We just get so impressed with ourselves, and that is really pitiful. Like little girls at a tea party, dressed up and fanning themselves and saying intelligent things while they hold their teacup with their pinky out. Oh, you don't say. Oh, how delightful. Okay, but that's how we must look to our guardian angels, to the saints in heaven. We're just little kids dressed up and pretending to be grown-ups. Really, really pitiful. So this ingrained habit of belittling anything that concerns the great mass of their fellow men. It's really make-believe, pretend. It's just vanity, nothingness, vanus. Where we get the word vanish. There's nothing there. Vanity. That's the essence of vanity that he talks about here. Intellectual vanity. Subtlety of looks. This is what he's dealing with now. This patient of Wormwood is getting sucked into these friendships with these types of individuals. And then he wants to, there's a peer pressure there. He wants to fit in, wants to be accepted and approved of. Join this little club, social club. So to get in, you have to you have to pay your dues. And this can be done very subtly. And this is where we can deceive ourselves. So Lewis exposes us, our hypocrisy here. Because a subtle play of looks and tones and laughs by which a mortal can imply that he is of the same party. So we can concede or are complicit in this whole ruse, this whole game. We can get sucked into it and are complicit in it just by subtle looks, subtle play of looks and tones and laughs, by not saying something when we should say something and laughing when we shouldn't be laughing. This is very dangerous, especially if we're not aware of it. That's the real danger. So the man does not fully realize it himself. So that's what Screwtape is telling Wormwood, like, keep him in the dark about the influence of these friends. Don't let him see what's happening. Don't let him wake up to it and get wise. Okay, postpone his stance against it. Postpone that. As long as you possibly can, keep him in this false position, this double stance. A heart and a heart. That's an expression, being double-hearted, that you hear in the Psalms. This kind of thing is all over the place, being duplicitous. James talks of being dipsukos, having two souls. It's a very interesting topic, honestly, this whole thing of having a heart and a heart. But you just look at that. Psalm 12, a heart and a heart. Yeah, dipsukos. So let me look at a couple things with you. We looked at Acts 17:21. I want to look at Jude. These are the type of people here that we want to fit in with and be accepted by, be approved of by. It appeals to our vanity now. We want to fit in. And we start pretending. And we're in a false position. This can happen so subtly at work, amongst family or friends, that, out of shame, pride, modesty, and vanity, those are the four identifying causes of this postponement of taking a stand against these things, against these friends, or standing up and standing strong. What's preventing us from doing that? Shame, pride, modesty, excessive modesty, and vanity. Sometimes we have to open up our mouth. Sometimes we have to open up our mouth. We don't want to be unpopular. But we got to do it. He who is not with me is against me, The Lord came to bring division in a certain sense. He came to bring the sword. We have to sometimes bring that sword down and cut ties, or at least draw distinctions where the boundaries lie with various circles of friends, co-workers, acquaintances, whatever it is. We got to be clear. Okay, and once that distinction is made, there can be a real, there can still be a relationship there, but there has to be clear boundaries and stances. And if they're willing to accept us, then fine. Psalm 70. Well, yeah, all right. James 4:4. Let's just continuing this topic of parallel lives. He calls it. Where we are a different man in each of the circles we frequent. That's what Screwtape is encouraging Wormwood. He's saying, Wormwood, keep your man living this double life, parallel lives, reacts different ways in different circles of friends, and then he gets vain and proud and self-satisfied about it. Self-satisfaction creeps in because he starts thinking, hey, I'm the complete, balanced, open-minded, complex man who sees around all of these people, the grocer that I kneel next to in the church, as well as these elitists, these social elite. I see through them, and I see through the grocer, kneeling next to me in the pew. I see through it all. I'm the complex man. I'm the open-minded man. Yeah. Wow. Careful. Careful. Boy, pride can take so many forms and sneak in. So James 4:4, it's a good quote here. To unfaithful creatures, that's really like adulterous, fornicators, That's the ancient claim of Israel towards God. And of each of us individually, there's a certain two-timing going on here. That's really what this is. When we lead that double life, parallel lives, we're two-timing. We're not being faithful. In the marital, sexual sense, that's the kind of language that you hear in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, all over the place. Okay? Both in the Torah, of the Pentateuch, and also in the prophets, this comes up big time. It comes up in the Psalms, but it's big time in Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Hosea, especially this idea of harlotry, of going whoring, of fornicating, of being unfaithful in that sense to our marriage to Christ. When we lead these double lives, parallel lives, that's exactly what we're doing. We cannot be friends with the world. When we use that word, we use it very specifically, okay? The forces opposed to God and his ways, these currents and forces and attitudes all around us. We can't be complicit to them. We can't concede to them. We have to draw the boundaries clear and stand up. Take a stand alongside our Lord. He who is not with me is against me, okay? You cannot serve two masters, our Lord says. You'll either hate one and love the other, or love one and hate the other, okay? Cannot serve God and mammon. We can't be children of this world, and we can't be children of God at the same time. We simply cannot be. We're in the world, but not of the world. John chapter 17, verses 15 to 16. I do not pray that thou shouldst take them out of the world, but thou shouldst keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. We cannot be of the world, in love with the world and in love with God. If what we mean by world is that sense of the forces opposed to God and his ways. Attitudes, forces, currents of thinking and acting. James chapter 4, verse 4. Unfaithful creatures, okay, or adulterous, or unfaithful in that sense I spoke of. Unfaithful creatures. Do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Okay? Now, we got to be in the world, but not of the world. So, look, our Lord hung out with sinners. Our Lord knew how to balance this thing without causing scandal. We can mix and mingle as our Lord did with all sorts of people that do not share our views. It's not like we just retreat to our holy hill of Psalm 15 and we just suddenly become like elitists ourselves, like Pharisaical, pure ones, and we just, no, we move and lift and shift in the world, but all the while we keep those boundaries clear. We are not of the world. There's so much more we could say about this. I could go on and on about this, honestly. But I'll just look at one other thing because I'm running out of time. Psalm 1 is a great example of the subtle nature of this influence, that this influence can have over us. Read Psalm 1 and notice these two paths, okay? The wicked and the righteous, okay? These two paths, and where they lead, one to life, one to destruction. Okay, and notice the subtlety in verse 1 here. It's like, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. It starts out very subtly. We postpone that distinction, setting those boundaries, establishing our position, our stance, okay? And we laugh and we keep silent when we should open our mouth, or we should walk away, whatever the case may be. That happens very subtly, walking, and then standing, and then finally sitting. See the progression there, so subtle, so insidious in verse 1 of Psalm 1. The very Psalter begins with this wisdom psalm, which demonstrates clearly how subtle this can happen. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. First, you're just walking along with these friends. Then pretty soon you stop and stand there with this circle of friends. The next thing you know, you're sitting amongst those friends in the seat of scoffers. Until next time, God bless you.